Being there, Lisa Brinton, I'm the Community Development Director.
Beautiful. All right. Just tell me, why is it important, for the city to hold these open houses, gather the community, and, kind of get their input before moving forward with projects like these?
The city is committed to community engagement. And here in Chinatown, this has been a long process. Community engagement and planning for revitalization has gone back as early as 2007. Plans were developed in 2007, 2010, and with the latest being adopted in 2019. And so the city has always been committed to working with the community to identify a vision for revitalizing this area, recognizing its historical and cultural significance.
Absolutely. And, I guess just if you want to hit on a little bit of what he hit on there, just so I can brief them, just, where do things stand with the different units, 34, 40, 45, 37, just a brief of where things stand with them.
So the city has undertaken the acquisition and pre-development and entitlement of 3 properties, as you mentioned, 3440, 45 Soledad, and 3739 Soledad, with the idea of revitalizing the neighborhood, bringing in affordable housing and mixed-use development to serve the community. One thing that was identified in the revitalization plan was the lack of a local market grocery store for residents to shop at. And so that's just one example of a potential retail space that we'd be looking to bring into this facility. Combined, the 3 properties would have 85 units, affordable at different levels, and 1 building, 45 Soledad, specifically targeted to seniors.
Got it. And I guess, really think that you have everything. Just where construction stands, I guess, with that Republic Cafe and stuff earlier this year. I know that they said that construction was supposed to start in June for something. We did an article about it. So maybe just where
Correct.
stuff
So we've been going through a whole process to stabilize the property. And so initially there needed to be an assessment, an emergency stabilization assessment of what long-term stabilization was needed for the Republic Cafe and adjacent Lewis Inn. And now we've identified that scope of work and we'll be moving forward with it.
Gotcha. Okay. And then just hitting on that developer for the people at home. I know you guys haven't selected a developer. Just hitting on where you guys are at in that process, moving forward and all that stuff.
Correct. So once we complete the entitlement process, we will be developing and issuing a request for proposals to local as well as developers in throughout Northern California, and as Assistant Director Ray said, that will more than likely be issued by the end of the year is our target at this point.
Got you. And it's it's for all of these.
All 3.
For all 3
package. Right.
Gotcha.
Because there's also economy of scale, so we would be putting them out as a package.
Okay, so the developer has a hold of all of these,
and then they could respond as they wish.
Noted.
Yes, I'm Kathy Chavez Miller.
Just to start us out, tell me, what are your initial thoughts, after looking over the redevelopment plans, you see what they got going on, what are your thoughts about them all?
I am so grateful to the city of Salinas for continuing to work with everyone here in Salinas, Chinatown. I'm the chair of the Asian Cultural Experience. We've been working closely with the city. We appreciate all that they've done. They help us with the festival, and with this future development, we hope with having more housing, more people that are unsheltered in housing is good for us. We have a partnership with the city of Salinas to revitalize the Republic Cafe. And so we know to have the Republic Cafe be vital, we need to have a healthy neighborhood. And so I've been to a number of these meetings. I've been involved for over 12 years, 15 years. And so I've seen stops and start because of funding over the last 15 years. But the last few years, it's been very hopeful and very productive.
That's beautiful. And tell me, too, because I know last time we did a story on the Republic Cafe and the Lotus Inn, we were trying to figure out when construction was starting. Did it start in June? Has construction started?
Well, what is happening now, as Richard could explain to you, is that he's on a construction team that has gone into the Republic Cafe, removed all the asbestos, removed everything that had been rotted or burned by the last fire. And so that is going to be complete within months and then they'll do the refurbishing to make it sturdy inside, and then hopefully by the fall we will be able to move in as a start of a museum and cultural center and start making it look more like a museum and cultural center inside.
That's awesome. Is there any thing, maybe that you want to see changed or added or improved to the overall Chinatown? Maybe not even just the museum, just looking at the plans. Is there anything you think that maybe could be changed going forward that you think?
I feel very happy about, because this has been a process and we are getting closer. We have met a number of times, and I am just really grateful to see action and the commitment of the Salinas City Chamber of Commerce and the City of Salinas council people. Everybody is behind us. So I think this looks like one of the best that we have seen, and I hope that it continues to be supported.
Beautiful. I really think that you hit on everything. Looking at what's next, is there anything that you're super duper excited about, or is anything that I didn't hit on that you want to add?
I don't think so. I'm so grateful for our local city council that continues to meet. What I am concerned with is the unhoused people. We have had some of the windows broken at Moongate Plaza, where we have a gallery, and we're next door. Professor JC has a gallery, and so there's been spray paint, there's been broken windows. Some of our youth that wants to volunteer down here is concerned about coming here for some of our meetings. We walk them to and from their cars. So I am concerned about some of the violence. I've heard from some of our volunteers in our gallery that they are concerned. So maybe because they see some of this progress, they're feeling possibly left out. And so I hope the city continues to find ways to meet some of their needs or speak to them about their frustrations, because we're kind of at a loss of what to do with those kinds of neighbors that we hope that their needs can also be addressed, or we will not be able to have a safe Republic Cafe where people feel safe to come down to.
My first name is Kathleen. My last name is Slattery.
Beautiful. All right. Just tell me, what are your initial thoughts after looking at all these redevelopment plans? There's some big, big plans. What are your thoughts about them?
I think the plans are just beautiful, and I hope they become a reality. It would be a great thing for the city of Salinas, and it would be wonderful to preserve our Chinatown, because in most cities where there were Chinatowns, they're gone, including my hometown. And it's just sad that my hometown once had 3 Chinatowns. Now they have this bare earth, an archaeological dig. Here we have a chance to really preserve the history that we have here, this incredible history of the Chinese, the Japanese, and the Filipino immigrants who lived and worked here.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Is there anything you'd like to see changed, improved, or maybe added before these projects move forward? Do you think they're perfect? Is there anything maybe that you want to see changed?
We need to find solutions to help the homeless people who live in town, who eventually, if all this happens, there won't be much place for them.
What parts of Chinatown's history and character do you hope are preserved throughout this process?
I care most about the Republic Cafe, Cultural Center, and Museum. We need to have a flavor of a Chinatown, and it is on the National Register of Historic Places, so we need to preserve it.
And then just looking at what's proposed, what project improvements are you most excited about maybe? So something on here that you're excited
Because
to
I'm
see.
on the board of Asian Cultural Experience in Salinas, of course, is the Republic Cafe.
Absolutely. And is there anything that I didn't ask you about this project? I mean, like we were just talking about, you've seen Chinatown from the beginnings and you were scared. So
I think it's an incredibly good financial deal for the city. And because Chinatown is so close to our downtown and our transit center, it's in a key place for future development for our city.
Yeah.
Very near our heart.
Can you just to start us out, what are your initial thoughts? You've seen this plan, looked at this plan. What are your thoughts on the city's plan to revitalize Chinatown?
I've been working on this project for over 20 years, and so seeing progress being made is significant, and it's also very encouraging. So, from this is not a new idea or new concept, so I'm very encouraged.
Tell me what work you do with the project. I didn't ask you that, so what is it that you're doing with the project?
Pretty much, I'm part of Asian Cultural Experience at Salinas, ACES. So we're going to be doing the museum portion, the interior. We have an arrangement with the city where they do exterior and we do the interior for this National Historic Register property.
Is there anything that you'd like to see changed, improved, or maybe added before this project moves forward?
Well, the project itself, generally, we would try to define architecturally, make it significant Chinatown image. So, that's another expensive item. It may not be feasible, but that would be on our wish list.
Yeah. What parts of Chinatown's history and character do you hope are preserved, during this process?
Well, I think our mission as Asian Cultural Experiences is to preserve and enhance the cultural history and preservation of Salinas Chinatown from the beginning of the Asian community.
And I guess just looking at what's proposed in the project and everything, is there anything specific that you're excited about seeing maybe come to Chinatown? Anything specific from the plans that you saw tonight?
No, I think that one of the rendering of the Republic Cafe, it shows as how it historically would look like. So that's very exciting because it gives people the opportunity to see what it will look like in the preserved state.
Absolutely. Is there anything I didn't ask you about tonight? Getting to share your feedback, your thoughts that
No,
I didn't ask
I think
you?
I'm glad that there needs to be good community feedback on this particular project. It's not simple. It's going to take a little longer than we'd like, but we've been very patient.
Well, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, good evening, I should say. Thank you all for attending today, for making time out of your busy schedules to come out. My name is Orlando Reyes. I am the Assistant Community Development Director for the City of Salinas. Our director is Lisa Britton. She shall be joining us today. Thank you again for all coming out. I'll be presenting today the first part of the update on the pre-development status for 34th and 3945 Soledad Street. Joining me today will also be Doug Tom, sitting behind us here, the architect with TEF. Just wanted to say a few words. One is I want to thank both my predecessors and current staff, because it takes a village literally to come to this stage. So this is a moment of time to celebrate for getting to this point in time. I understand this has been long coming. And with all developments, having had that experience myself, it takes a lot of energy, time, effort, willpower to push through. So again, a time to celebrate. I do also want to thank our council members in attendance today, Rosa, I think I saw members from the county. Just want to say thank you. Thank you all for attending today. Next slide, please. So today's agenda consists of what's on the screen, which is 5 bullet points. We'll start with a little background, discuss some of the design precedents that were taken into consideration and how that helped inform some of the design work for the properties listed above. Then we'll also touch on the schedule and next steps. Next slide. The goals for the pre-development phase are the ones listed above. That includes completing all the required pre-development tasks before developer is selected. What that means is the goal that is in front of you today has been to advance designs to the point that we can solicit interest by developers to actually develop the property. It is atypical for cities to do this. This is just showing the commitment that the city has to try to advance developments. Usually a developer would just come in, identify a parcel, and try to develop it on their own. Here we're trying to remove all barriers by taking on the design aspect, by taking on the entitlement process to try to advance it and then put it out through an RFP to solicit for developers to be attracted to develop the properties. Second bullet point on the screen, what conveys is that we're ensuring community engagement. You will see that connection in terms of the feedback that was received and how that translates into the design today, and that will continue to be incorporated as it moves forward into construction once a contractor or developer is selected. The third bullet point identifies that the project is 100% affordable mixed-use development. Again, 100% affordable mixed-use development. That's based on varied income levels, so it's not just one level of 30% AMI, average medium income. It's a range. There's a mix of unit types, both studios, families, and senior housing incorporated into this design work. It also includes some commercial spaces, again, to try to revitalize the area. The map shows the areas that we're speaking of, so it's we'll call it the southwest and southeast corner. Next slide, please. The slide above represents what's happened since April 2025. Some of the achievements that have brought us to where we're at today. The first is the demolishing 34, 36, and 38 Soledad following a fire on 38 Soledad. So that was something that we had to address. The next is incorporating the community feedback. Again, you will see that and spoken to more as the architect goes through that. The third is completing a historic structure report for the Republic Cafe and Lotus Inn. Completing the designs for 3440, 3739, and 45 Soledad, and advancing that through the planning process, the entitlement process. So that means getting planning feedback, fire department, public works, etc. Also securing building permit applications for 37 and 39. All of these items have been taken to City Council for their review and presentation, also to the Planning Commission, and most recently we're completing a cleanup of hazardous materials abatement over at 37 and 39. That's actively happening now, with about a month to complete. Next slide, please. So with that, I want to introduce our architect, Doug Tom. I do want to say he has a long, in the space of development, it's rare to have this moment where you have an architect that has a direct linkage to the place, time, and proposed development. There's a lot of history that Doug brings, and like I said, it's the best scenario that one can have. So I'm proud and excited to have Doug share with you some of the proposed design.
Many of you probably have heard about my relationship, but I'll review it. I'm born and raised in Salinas. Went to Salinas High and Hartnell College. And most importantly, my parents met at a dance at the Confucius Church in 1946. So I have this neighborhood is near and dear to not only me, but my family. Our practice is in San Francisco, but our heart is here for this project. I want to talk first about some of the issues that we heard last year at this meeting. And we've tried to address them best we can, and I'll launch into them. So next slide, please. Oh, maybe go back one. Sorry. Yeah, design precedents. Go next one. Yeah, we looked at what other taller buildings in other Chinatowns and Asian communities look like. There's a balance here between what happens at the street and what the taller parts of the building look like. And we're thinking, we have a developer's hat on as well, what they're going to be willing to build. So there's a blend of more modern stuff and more cultural stuff. So next. So we heard last time an interest in the Spanish Revival architecture, if we can call it that, that you see in the Republic Cafe and Lotus Inn and the old pool hall that burned down. This happens to be, a look of the ground floor that would be where the pool hall was on the ground floor of the housing. Next. There's some Asian influence in this. We looked at just the colors. Chinese red's a very good luck color that we try to incorporate, as well as this notion of the moon gate, which is symbolizes a passage into serenity and renewal and good fortune. Next. So this moon gate is at the main entry to the larger housing project on the west side of Soledad Street. Next. We also, you need solar shades because you want to protect the windows from heat gain. And we're looking at solar shades which might have a sense of Japanese joinery. They're not just blank solar shades. They have some intent behind them. Next. We also recognize that all Asian cultures utilize lanterns to demand presence in the neighborhood. So we put a few strings of lanterns in the housing area. Next. There's also, in any building, large building, there's potentially large expanses of blank walls. We're thinking that there are opportunities here to have murals painted, and we've actually met and talked to a muralist. Her name's Belle Yang, who works out of Monterey, and she does these wonderful sort of indigenous murals to the area. So there's opportunities to do, if not from her, for similar artists to do their murals. Next. So I'll now launch into, this is an image if you're standing on Market Way, looking down Soledad Street, and you see the two major projects on the left and the right. The idea with the palm trees is that there are 8 palm trees, which in Chinese is good luck. So, next. We also are maybe hoping, wishing, as architects, that there's the vacant lot next to the Republic Cafe that could at some time become a neighborhood square and really activate Soledad Street for farmers markets or just as a public park. That's a notion, no promises behind that, but that's an idea we've had. Next. So 34 to 40 Soledad Street, again, this is the old pool hall that burned down last year. Next. This is the ground floor plan. In the dark color are retail spaces. You can see that Moon Gate is right here, and then there's the lobby for the residents to go through. Next. And then on the upper floor, the second level, the dark room square, which is above the old pool hall, which would be rebuilt, would be a community center for the housing residents that activates a second floor open space or play area in the middle. And then you can see that by the colors, the mix of studios, 1, 2s, and 3-bedroom units. Next. And the same goes for the upper floors 3 through 6. Next. So in total in this project, there are 55 units. The mix is being studios 1s, 2s, and 3s is fairly equal mix with open space and a community room, like I mentioned. There's parking spaces on the ground floor in the back. And there's bike storage, which is required. Next. So this is the elevation if you're standing across the street on Soledad Street looking at the building, and you can see the rebuilt pool hall and the moon gate next to it. Next. So this is if you're on Market Way, see the railroad tracks, what that elevation would look like there. And you can see the entry to the parking garage. Next. This is 45 Soledad, across the street, right on the corner of Market Way and Soledad. This is a brick building that was demolished, and the city's desire is to bring that building, rebuild that building in a very similar way with brick and add housing on top of it next. So you can see the ground floor of that would be a large commercial area, a lobby for the residents, and then some back of house mechanical, etc. Next. And then up above on level 2 is a community room for this building with residential services and then studios and 1-bedrooms. The idea for this building is that it would be senior affordable housing. Next. And then upstairs, 3 through 6, you can see the mix of studios and 1-bedroom units. Next. So you can see in this project, there are 30 units. So if you combine both that building and the previous one, it's a total of 85 units. And again, you can see the mix of studios and 1-bedrooms. And then again, across that gateway from Market Way and Soledad, you can see this building across the street there. Ideal location for a small grocery store, I think. Next. And then again, walking around the corner on the Market Way side. And again, opportunities for murals here. Next. So the historic structures on Soledad 37 and 39 is the old Republic Cafe and Lotus Inn. Next. These are both, they're historic buildings, but 37, the Republic Cafe, is actually a designated National Historic building. And 39, the Lotus Inn, is eligible to be designated, but it is not yet. Next. So we're in the midst right now of preparing drawings for what's called a stabilization program. We don't want this building to burn down. The city doesn't either. And so we're doing things like boarding up the windows. We're going to add a sprinkler system just to get it stable until the development continues and it's able to do more. Next. Yeah, this is exactly what we're doing. Stabilizing the front facade, repairing fire damage, installing the sprinkler system, stabilizing the structure, and making it watertight so it doesn't have a lot of leaks. Next. Yeah, you can see the condition it's in, and several people from the city and from our office have been in it in this state, and it's pretty bad. Next. So what we're proposing in part of this building is the Asian Cultural Experience Museum. And we've been working with a committee from ACES to identify an exhibit planner whose job is to work with the committee, understand what kind of material they have that could be put in a museum, and then identify the program for the future and potential layouts of what a museum would be like. So that's just started. I believe Larry told me earlier that they're just signing the contract in the coming days here. Okay. Next. So you can see on the top is the ACES Museum. On the bottom is the Lotus Inn. TBD whether that's part of the museum or not. We just don't know yet. Next. And as you go up, there's a mezzanine in the back would be part of the museum for museum use. Next. And again, on the upper floors of the Lotus Inn, it used to be a residence, and at the moment we're going to keep it as a residence. It might become part of the museum. We just don't know yet. Next. Yeah, and then on the third floor is more museum, potential storage for the museum. Next. So this is the rough timeline. As Orlando mentioned, the housing, the 85 units are in for review by the city for their comments. Return them back to us as the architects, and we'll then have a final package ready to present to a potential developer. The stabilization for the Republic Cafe and Lotus Inn, as I mentioned, is ongoing as we speak. And the next step after the stabilization is to actually design the rehabilitation component of those two buildings. So that will be coming up in the near future. Next. Yeah, this is basically what I just said. Next. So this is bird's eye view of the property. We really think it'd be an incredible transformation of this neighborhood, long, long, long overdue. So with that, I think that's the last slide. We're available for questions.
Because the cafe is on the National Register, are you finding restrictions on what you can do to upgrade it or update the facade especially?
Not especially. Our firm happens to deal a lot in historic buildings. There's a special code. This is the Secretary of Interior Standards for Historic Preservation. It provides guidelines. What the historic structures report that we did sort of outlines what's called this significant components that you can or cannot touch. Mm-hmm. But also what it enables as being on the registry, it enables the client to get historic tax credits, which is, can be fairly significant.
Right. Okay.
Back there?
Yeah, since we're not using microphones with the speakers, can you repeat the question before you give your answers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Do you need that repeated?
I heard.
Okay. Yeah.
I just joined the ACES group, and I have such interest in this project. I grew up in Salinas. I'm a nurse, retired nurse. And I'm wondering, did they ever consider like a day clinic? Because there's seniors, it's probably too late now, but there are seniors that are considered in this population.
So
There's homeless across the street.
the question is, was a day clinic for seniors ever considered?
Or for anybody.
Or for anybody? I'm going to say yes, because we pointed out the commercial spaces on both buildings.
Okay.
Those can be broken up in different sizes,
Okay.
and I think the city has mentioned that some of them should be for services like that.
For days. Okay.
Other questions?
Is there provision for sufficient parking?
You want to take that?
Great question. In terms of, the question is about parking. Is parking taking into consideration? With the development of this site, yes. To the left on that visual, there's a parking area that, there's a large swath of land owned by PG&E. We've been in active conversations with them to incorporate that as parking. So that conversation is ongoing as part of the master planning of this site.
Yes, residents will be parking and museum visitors too.
Understood. The comment was residents and museum patrons would be parking too.
So, how much research has been involved in the commercial property? There are several mixed-use properties in Salinas, and they're vacant below, and they've been vacant for several years. So has there been any extra research to say, yes, we have people that are interested?
I'll take part of it, and Doug also. Yeah, so the question is, has any research been done on the commercial side of the proposed design? And the answer is yes. With mixed, one is to activate the community both residentially and with businesses. The spaces have been sized to be flexible and accommodating of the types of businesses that we've seen be successful in other locations. With the property being a tax credit property, tax credits can usually only support the affordable housing portion, but through contacts with, through the developers and their ability to design the spaces on the interior, they're able to also help attract some of those potential patrons of those spaces. But in terms of the design work, it has been taken into consideration, how to activate it, what works, what hasn't worked in other locations. That's part of the research.
Thank you.
What has been devised or planned for the unhoused community that primarily lives in this? I think I might just be better without a microphone. I'm curious to hear what has been any kind of research as far as the unhoused community in this area, and also like what's going to happen to them, where are they going to get relocated, and also the entry points along the railroad being like secured, if there's communication with, I don't know, who handles that?
Union Pacific.
Yeah. So I'll repeat the question if you didn't hear. Part of it was related to addressing the unhoused that are in the area now, what happens to them. The other is related to the railroads, how are those connection points being addressed. Collectively, it is a strategic effort that the city is working through now actively in where do the homeless go. Part of that is relocating them to other facilities. Other facilities are both active and others that are being worked on to come online. So that's to provide more beds in order for the unhoused to be housed. In terms of the railroad aspect, that is also active conversation that is happening now and has been happening on how to address that condition as these developments come online. So that means securing the access points, evaluating whether there needs to be some sort of wall or what needs to go there in order to provide a safe environment for the people that live there and for the community. So. In the back.
I have a question about once the construction on the Republic Cafe starts, we have a community here in Salinas that is very budget conscious, and there's the monies that flow in to projects are sort of immutable. They come from different places. So would you be able to say how much it would cost to the beginning of building it to the end, a ballpark, and would you be sort of like reporting that to the community?
So the question was about the cost for upgrading or rehabilitating the historic building, the Republic Cafe in Lotus. The answer is yes. Our process is to do work in increments or phases, and each phase gets a cost estimate. And then we report that back to the city, and oftentimes at various of those phases, there's what's called a value engineering period, where you actually strategize how to reduce the budget. So there's not going to be a big surprise at the end. It's a managing of expectations about cost is a big deal. Yeah. Questions? Yes.
So I'm curious, affordable housing in California is not really affordable for some people. So is low income part of that? Is HUD housing also included, a percentage, 25% low income?
So the question is, affordable housing in California is not really affordable. How is affordable housing defined? Affordable housing here is defined per tax credits or per HUD requirements. So HUD has some guidelines. Those guidelines refer to the county, and within the county there is basically a breakdown that says per level of average medium income at the different levels, 30%, 60%, 50, 60, 80, etc. So it is defined, there are guidelines that define what that looks like and what that is.
So low income is part of that?
Correct.
Or
Low
the-
income is part of that. It's part of the
What's
high.
the percentage?
Say that again?
What's the percentage of low income? Like in Santa Cruz, it's like 25% of new development.
Got it. So the question is, what is the percentage of affordable housing in these proposed developments? And the answer
Low income.
of low income.
Yeah.
Did everybody get that? Okay. The answer is 100% of the projects described today would be low income and following those guidelines.
Wow.
Aside from the commercial. The commercial is not affordable.
Is a restaurant planned for the Republic Cafe, according to you?
The question is a restaurant planned for the Republic Cafe to be determined?
Okay.
It's actively being explored.
I have a question. In terms of security, is private security baked into the equation, or are you just counting on the Salinas Police Department to have a safe environment?
The question is security part of the equation? I guess I would ask, at what stage are you asking? Is it at this stage or once the development is done? So I'll just say that typically once the neighborhoods are developed, it's having that relationship with the developer and the proposed property management offices, and having that relationship, one that is a developer that's committed to the city. It's not just a fly-by-night and they're gone. You want to have that relationship with those developers and their property management companies so that they are overseeing those properties effectively and constantly communicating with the city and RPD to ensure that the community as a whole is continually safe, and not just at the time of completion, but that it continues.
I see. Thank you.
Mhm. In the back?
Yeah, I noticed that some of your slides show flowering, presumably cherry trees. Is there any landscaping considered in this stage?
The question was, he noticed flowering cherry trees. Are there any considerations for landscaping at this point in time? The landscape or the streetscape in this context is something that will happen later. The cherry trees were our idea because, we thought it'd be a nice gesture towards this community. Have cherry trees. Whether it's a standard of the city, we don't know yet.
Have any developers expressed an interest yet?
Not formally. Question. Oh, sorry. The question is, has any developer expressed interest? And the answer is not formally.
Hi, I understand that there is a parking structure that's in discussion, and maybe there's not a mock-up yet or anything. But I'm just curious about the parking structure, whether it's going to be something that residents will have to pay to use, or if it's going to be something that comes with their unit.
So the question is, the comment was made that there's a parking structure, and would residents have to pay for that parking structure? As mentioned earlier, the intent is to provide resident parking off-site. So to the left of I'll point to it. The two lots to the left, the intention is to have those created as residential parking. Whether it's a structure or at grade, meaning just flat, is still to be determined. The buildings, as shown, some of them that were described earlier, do have some parking, but that parking is really for the staff, the supportive services associated with those buildings. The residential parking is off-site. Again, to be determined whether it's a structure or it can be supported at grade. More to come. Please.
Why don't you have underground parking underneath these structures, like most cities do?
Great question. So the question is, why don't we have underground parking on these structures like most cities? Money. That's right. It's the cost. the cost to build even subterranean, which it doesn't even mean, you know, all the way down, you're talking half grade, costs thousands of dollars per square foot. All to say that that just translates to an infeasible project, a project that never gets off the ground. The intent was to make this project as feasible, as attractive, as ready and available to get it to deploy it and be able to build it. That was the intent, and that's what is shown today.
So this parking thing's got me a little bothered because if you don't have enough parking, it's going to end up on the street or it's going to end up, and is it convenient for the people who live there to be off-site? You know, we're saying, well, we don't want to spend extra money because we can't afford it. Well, then can you afford the whole project? You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's like you either include the parking because you need it, or you rethink your whole design.
So the question is, or the comment is, the concern is parking, and what the concern being that the parking overflows to the streets, whether it was thought through to why not incorporate it into the project. Did I capture your?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's twofold. That certainly is a valid concern with any development infill like this. It is one that where we landed is in a position that allows, again, for the housing to come online. We understand it's not all factors can be ideal, right? I'd love to have a garage right next to me. That isn't the case. You know, it's an apartment, I have to walk a couple steps, etc. What we're providing is housing. That said, parking is taken into the equation. We are evaluating it. We're actively looking into it. We believe that space to the left is more than accommodating to support all the residents, and understand that there, aside from that there would be some movement within the streets, but those streets parking is really also with a mindset of being able to activate it, right? Activate it for the commercial spaces. So it is taken into consideration. I know that there's never a 100% ideal scenario that translates, but it is taken into consideration, and what's proposed today is what we all believe is the closest to being able to be feasible and come online.
Well, I guess my only real challenge right now is if you build these commercial properties and you expect people to park in front of the commercial building in order to use it, but you already have people who live in the area and have their cars on the street. Now you're bottled up and you're not giving the, you know, I mean, one of the problems I saw in, for example, the Tynan building over on, Front Street, there's no parking out on the street. So they've never really expanded the use of that property because nobody wants to try to run a business with no parking. That's kind of what I'm seeing here.
Did folks get that comment, or do you want me to try to repeat it? Okay. It sounds like you guys got the comment. Okay.
Yeah.
Also, the safety issue, I'm going to park my car from 25 Front Street all the way, how to get all around here to the side of the middle of the night. And also, for just daytime use, is there going to be access from the north part of that parking lot onto Soledad Street? Through the buildings that are, I guess, that have been on fire?
Also, as well, too, what I'm seeing is that you guys are going to have senior housing, correct? Are they going to have wheelchair access from the parking lot? Are they going to be able to go with their motor chairs safely, you know, like that kind of stuff?
Did everybody catch that comment?
Just to expand on this, what would be the expected handicap parking available for those that are handicapped that are going to be living in that area?
The question was, is there disabled access parking, handicap parking? That's a requirement of any code. There's a certain percentage of any parking is
I do know that.
accessible.
What is expected?
Pardon?
I do know that, but what is expected to
Well, like Orlando said, the vacant PG&E land is the potential parking. No one's done a layout to even determine the quantity of parking you get on there. I mean, maybe that's something we could do, but hasn't been addressed yet. But as you can see, it's a fairly large lot.
So are we putting the horse before the cart, building the housing, and then the parking lot? Or are we going to be building both of them together at the same time?
So I'll repeat the question. I think the comment was, are we putting the horse in front of the cart, or the cart in front of the horse, something like that? With regards to ADA accessibility, I'd say collectively all those aspects are being taken into consideration as part of the design. In addition to what's shown today, what's also been brought over to council and expressed is that there is work on the Chinatown public works side of the house. What does that mean? That means ADA curb cuts. That means lights, street lights, enhancements. So all of that collectively, plus what the developer is to bring on board, plus what's shown here, would cohesively work to address some of those concerns. Lisa Britton, the Director of the Community Development.
Hi, I just want to bring some context. As Orlando mentioned, we are not the developers. So we are setting the table in this case. And so we are imagining, we are coming up with a design, we are getting the site ready for development. And we're doing so in compliance with state and local codes, which take into consideration parking requirements, also take into consideration accessibility. We do need to keep in mind that the city is not going to be paying for this. This would be financed through the developer. We may support them in pursuing low-income tax credits to make the project feasible. However, the developer, when they come on board, they may have some ideas themselves to make it even better. So we need to keep that in mind, that this is not the end-all be-all. This is really the starting point to attract private investment, a developer to come in, and they may, like you all, they may ask questions and say, well, is this really feasible? Does this design make sense? Should we change this here to make it more practical? So there will still be that process going forward as we send out the request for proposals, and that's when we anticipate receiving those responses, the interest from developers, taking what we've started and continuing to build on it as to how they can bring it to reality. So I just wanted to bring that context, but your comments are spot on and sort of all the things that we need to take into consideration for successful development. Thank you. Yes.
I have a question with the Soledad Street. How much does the city own about Soledad Street, and how much have they put into the 3 properties to get it developed or shovel ready?
So the city of Salinas has not put in dollars. We have leveraged state and federal funding to do the existing improvements. So all the pre-development work that we are doing here on these 3 buildings has been started through the Regional Early Action Plan grant, which is a state program through the Housing and Community Development Department. That's $1.5 million. We have leveraged activities as well through our community development block grant funds.
Okay. I heard 13 million like last year when we did this.
So in terms of investment, if you're looking at what we invested in Moongate.
No, just the new property. It was going to be a 3-story and a 5-story, and now it's like 6.
So I will verify those are not numbers that I am aware of in terms of I am not taking into consideration the acquisition of the property, and I do not have those figures off the top of my head.
Thank you.
Yes, I think Les was asking, for example, on 45 Soledad, the city spent about $395,000 to get the property. Where did that money come from? I think that's...
No.
Obviously so. The acquisition.
So we'd be happy to do an accounting because there are multiple funding sources, the majority of which are grant funds from other sources and not city funds.
estimate we are away from a completed project?
The question is, how many years are we estimating to be near the completion of the project? I wish I had a crystal ball. I wish I could say tomorrow, but I don't. So with that said, we don't control the financial market. We don't control what the developer can do, what monies they can contribute, what they can leverage. What we can do is just provide the best platform that allows them to be able to move forward. With that said, the intent is to solicit requests for proposals from developers within this year so that we can start that conversation, hear an interest from developers. The next step beyond that, generally, and I'm just speaking generally, is their effort, which can take 1 year, can take 2 years, to collect all the financing necessary to build these projects. That might be 5 layers of financing: conventional financing, grants from the federal, grants from the states, support from all sources. So it can take some time. The developer also would help work through the entitlement process. As Lisa mentioned earlier, there is a public process that goes through that stage to continue advancing the design. So with all that said though, the effort, time, and commitment that's been taken to bring it to this stage is significant, and we believe significant enough and attractive enough to hopefully solicit sufficient responses from developers that can move this forward.
I have a question. So I know Mid-Peninsula Housing with Moongate and other projects around here. So is that part of what you're hoping to speak with, is those types of
Great question.
developers?
So the comment was...
How many are there that you think are interested in Salinas area?
So the comment is, are we soliciting to developers such as Midpen, who built out Moongate? The answer is yes. We're looking for experienced developers in affordable housing with commitments to their cities and to the cities they support and build for. That would be the Midpens. That'd be all the other developers that are throughout the area, from Eden to everybody else that the city of Salinas has worked with in the past, and we're certainly open to those who are new to us, but who have experience. Any other questions?
One concern that I have is that, this project looks lovely, but there are issues going on with Soledad Street as it is regarding parking that I've been going for since they started construction, meeting people at Moongate, and at first they made the curb red, and I couldn't deliver things to people inside. And now everybody is parked all over, and it's sad. They're really for like Dorothy's, for Victory Mission and Moongate, that the post office is trying to deliver stuff, Amazon's trying to deliver stuff. They're all double parking because they can't get in there. And at the end of the street, there's not the accessible ramps for so many people who are using wheelchairs and walkers, and 30% of Moongate is people that have medical issues. They may not be homeless, they're coming from all over Monterey County and they have medical issues. And it seems like there's some things that need to be separate from this project, but it integrates to it to make the neighborhood workable for if you're having seniors or for everyone. And I'm just wondering, who can we talk to the city about addressing some of those things?
So the Community Development Department is partnering with the Public Works Department to create a master plan for this Chinatown area, infrastructure improvements, as well as for East Salinas, the Alisal. And last night we approved our 26-27 annual action plan, committing funding to make those improvements. So we're working to come up with a master plan, and each year have money set aside tied to a project that can be completed within that year.
So it will be an overtime, but we are coming up with a strategy to ensure that progress is being made year over year.
Is there a plan for where the residents of Boonegate can park other than on Soledad Street? Because unless you have a very limited parking in underground in Boonegate.
So that will be part of the conversation as we move forward. And it was identified in the Chinatown revitalization plan in terms of the need for parking and revisiting circulation and really connecting Chinatown to the rest of the city because it is fairly limited in accessibility.
Well, with that, thank you again all for coming tonight. We'll still hang around. One more question?
Last question.
Last question.
Bertie told me that the city's in the works of possibly acquiring the Victory Mission. Would that site benefit what you have planned at 45 Soledad Street?
The comment is, would acquisition of Victory Mission help benefit the plan? I would say collectively, yes. You know, the goal is to revitalize the entire area. Right? It would be best to be able to revitalize each and every parcel on that property, in this area. Okay, with that, thank you all again for coming out this evening. We'll still be around. There's some material for everybody to see. Thank you, and let's be hopeful for the attraction of developers.